The second thing is the proliferation of information. I tell my kids at Tulane, when I went to LSU, you got the Baton Rouge paper, and that was it. If you wanted to read the New York Times or Wall Street Journal, you had to go to the library. You got it 4 days later, and it came on a stick about that long. And that was it. Now, you would think that with 700 channels, 5 billion websites, you can walk out of this hotel, out of this building, and you can get the Times, New York Times, you get the Wall Street Journal, you get USA Today, you get the Financial Times, you get the New Orleans paper, you can now get the Baton Rouge paper, everything is right there. Are people any more informed today than they were before? No. Why? Because as you've had this proliferation of sources, people just read things that validate their opinion. They don't read it to be enlightened. I always like to say, I tell my kids, people use information the way a drunk uses a lamppost, for support, not illumination. I can always find somebody to tell me that I'm right. There's an entire industry that exists on validating what you do. And the way I deal with it in the classroom is I pick 5 issues and I'll randomly assign my students to argue one side or the other. And then I have any say so on it. And they may agree, they may disagree. And then on the exam, they're randomly assigned to argue one position or another. They don't get to pick. And I think that those two things have done as much as any two things to increase the polarization. Because if you're told, if you have access to information in 24 hours a day that says that you're absolutely right about everything that you think, then why would you compromise about anything? Because you know you got people that sit there and validate you all the time. And people pay good money to be validated. They love to be told.
All this is quantified. I call it the paradox of the information age, the irony of the information age. Columbia, if you're into journalism, you can look this up. We have exponentially more outlets, we have far fewer stories. It's heard. If it's not biased one way or the other, it's the same heard stories. You expand a little bit on, I'm really proud of James. He is a born teacher. He is a great teacher, and these kids that come to his class at Tulane are the creme de la creme. It's very hard to get into this class. It's self-selecting, and this is the first year that he made them randomly have to know every side, and every Tuesday after his class we have them over for dinner or gumbo or jambalaya or something at the house. These kids, and this is such the perfect time in life to do it, it was an epiphany to them to have to argue and understand their opposite view. And it changed the dynamic of the class, it changed the friendships, it changed their outlook. It was, I don't know if you knew it was going to have all those side benefits. It was a stroke of genius, and these kids, they carried it on to the other aspects of their life. Because we start doing this, siloing ourselves long before the information age and long before college, but by the time we're adults, we're already, you know, we are hardwired is soldered hard. And I love that I've never seen this done. I tell you, my kids go to great schools, they get to pick a side and they keep validating their own views. So lucky for them, they have 2 different views in their house, and one's a conservative, one's a liberal. They're highly opinionated. I don't know where they get it, but they're in a constant environment like that. But I am so proud of him for this. I think it's a great model, and I think the lower we could, the sooner we can introduce in the education system this concept, the better for the future of polarization.
Yeah, well, one more point on this that people are interested in. This is the truth of what it is. News is expensive, opinion is cheap.